Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also of RT's talk show, Cross Door. Well,
George, can I jump in real quick here? Everyone, George and I are trying to do this video today. I think I've mentioned a number of times that I'm living in a new building and I was the first to get finished. And so I have to listen to everyone else do the refurbishing of their apartment. So we're going to give it a try here. If we hear kind of a blast for a few seconds, like you're hearing right now, but it doesn't last very long. Yes. And then it goes back to normal. So we're going to give it a try. And George will decide if it's worth posting later.
Right, yes. Well, let's do that. Okay, so it's that time of the week for the thumbs ups and thumbs downs and all the terrible things that have happened, and people are waiting with dread as to our decisions. All right, I'll start with a thumbs down. It's kind of an obvious one. I'm sure, Peter, you thought of it yourself. The March the 4th fiasco. We had the most ridiculous, nonsensical, implausible story going around that there was supposed to be a massive riot, insurrection, whatever, on Capitol Hill, and all the petrified congressmen and congresswomen and senators all rushed off home because they couldn't possibly be there with their lives in danger. This is the second time since January the 6th that everything had to be brought to an end because there was supposed to be this terrifying insurrection from these Trumpians. Now, we know that absolutely nothing happened on January the 20th, the day of the inauguration. Not in one state capital, not one. No one showed up anywhere. No one showed up in DC. And this whole thing is being, again, cooked up by the Democrats, their media allies, the intelligence services, to persuade us that these Trumpians are terrifying, horrible people liable to do anything, even though what we now know about what the events of January the 6th, that no one lost his life as a result of any violence on the part of any Trump supporter. That story.
It was Trump supporters that died.
It was Trump supporters that died, one of whom was shot dead at point blank range, an unarmed Trump supporter shot dead at point blank range. But the story that the media and the Democrats kept pumping out, which is the horrific killing of Officer Brian Sicknick with the fire extinguisher, has turned out to be an absolute crock.
And we also know is that I think it was some kind of deputy director, a woman from the FBI testifying in front of Congress. She was asked point blank, well, how many of these rioters were armed? She said, none that we know of. None, zero, nada.
Not one person had been arrested carrying any arms. Not one. Not one. So all the talk about it's a very strange armed insurrection when no one has any arms on them. No, not even a little pistol. Nothing. So and yet nonetheless, the media are hyping this as so to make us all tremble about these terrible Trump supporters. Okay, Peter.
One of the things I learned this week, and it was eye-opening for me, is that the type of training that the Capitol Police, the officers that actually police the Capitol, okay, their level of training is not very high. It's basically taking the rope and putting it to the next post, moving people around and giving directions. The toilets are this way, the mall is this way. I mean, and I'm not knocking Capitol Police, okay? I'm not, okay? What I'm just saying is their level of training isn't prepared for people making a rush. Now, if they had multiplied it by 20, 30 more police officers, it might have would have created a perception of much more of a solid defensive perimeter around. So, I mean, these things are trickling out. We're not learning this from the mainstream. I'm learning this from independent reporting. So you're right. I mean, that was certainly my first one is that, but the thing is that what's in play right now, it's obviously falling apart very quickly, but it doesn't mean they're not going to let it go, because Russiagate empirically, forensically never started, but they did drag it on. So, and you've brought this up before, this is the same paradigm. We have the new hoax, okay? The Russia hoax is being put, in suspended animation because they'll use it in the future, that's for sure. And now they have a new one, which will allow them to increase domestic surveillance. As far as I'm concerned and you're concerned, and I think a lot of people watching us, it will be used as a political cudgel to go after people who don't fall in line. So this is what we're looking forward to, unfortunately. And there's no justification for that defensive perimeter around the Capitol. There's no need for it.
None. And of course, it's consistent with everything that we have known about Trump supporters. They are not violent. We've seen Trump supporters. Trump has held these rallies, innumerable rallies since 2015. They are not violent. They're usually the victims of violence. What happened on January the 6th was obviously the result of very poor policing, very inadequate preparation, whether it was an act of commission or an act of omission, we as yet don't know. No one seems that interested in finding out. But it was an untypical event. But nonetheless, the Democrats want to stir up hysteria. The Trump people are going to show up, and seize power again.
Well,
bearing no arms, but they plan to seize power.
But one of the other things that's in play right now, and the media won't focus in on it, is the division inside of the Democratic Party with these Justice Democrats, because the $15 minimum wage, and they're all at loggerheads right now. Joe Biden said he was for it all during the campaign. Then he suddenly, well, I don't know if it's probably not going to be in the bill. And what they're doing is that they're trying to keep the progressives focused on the bad guys, the Trump people, okay? Because the real bad guys in all this are establishment Democrats and their allies in the media, not the progressives. And certainly not.
I don't know. AOC has been one of the worst in winning hysteria.
Yes, but George, she's all bark. She's not. When push comes to shove, she gets in line with Nancy.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so she's a media. See, this is what we have. This is a new age, and maybe as a result of, not because of Trump, is that politicians are celebrities now. Okay. They don't have to stand for anything. AOC is a perfect example of it. She's an empty shell, but she's nice to look at. She's clever. She knows how to use social media. She has a demographic that she can speak to, but she's completely ineffective. Okay, no threat.
Right. No, that's it. I think that's her role. It's just to shepherd the progressives to support what you call the establishment agenda. It was kind of Bernie Sanders' role as well. The whole, Tribune of the People was always an act in order to come along in the end to say, now everybody vote for this guy. He's the, because if you don't vote for this guy, then we get those bad Republicans in power. That was the role of Sanders. That's obviously the role of AOC.
These people are talkers, but they're not doers. Okay, Bernie Sanders is one of the most mysterious characters in modern American politics. He actually had a real movement, but he refused to use it.
Because he didn't really want it. I think it came as a surprise to him. I think his successors came in, and I think he let down his supporters because his supporters thought he was for real. But once he realized that, hey, he's got a real movement, he has a real shot at winning this, he didn't want it. And that was it. He never really wanted it.
After 2016, when he wouldn't challenge Hillary Clinton, he was allowed in the club.
Yes.
He got his committee assignments, and he's in the club. He's accepted. And what they wanted to do is just wanted to dilute him. Okay, he's got a good gig going on right now. Okay, he's getting older. Just kind of slide through. Your late retirement. I don't really blame him. Okay, that's fine. That's his personal decision. But what he said. You walk away from everything that you wanted to do, and you like Joe. Okay, when he said he's a good guy. Okay,
you have to blame somebody who lets down his supporters, because his followers who gave him money. After all, these are not rich people. They gave him money. They thought he was for real. They didn't think that he was just going to throw in the towel when he didn't have to. So yeah, so I think one should be much harsher with him if you let down.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you and I were not supporters of Bernie Sanders, and I know plenty of people were, and they are disappointed. Absolutely. All right, this segues into my thumbs up. Jimmy Dore this week went on a diatribe. I mean, he was on fire, and he went after Cenk Uygur and the Justice Democrats, showing that they're all complete frauds, in which you and I, George, had said all along, okay, these people are closet Clintonites, not actually in closet, they're openly taking Clinton money in the Clinton orbit, okay? So, forced to vote, where Jimmy was pushing that, telling the six progressives in Congress, don't vote for any stimulus package up until there's a $15 minimum wage. George and I are not, I'm not taking a position on the $15 minimum wage thing. I'm not going to die on that hill today. I simply don't know enough about it, okay? However, these people have leverage. And when push comes to shove, they go back to mommy. They go back to mommy Pelosi, okay? And Jimmy does such an excellent job. Cenk comes out with this long video begging for money, begging for help, and Jimmy just eviscerates him. I mean, harshly, hard. So everyone go to Jimmy Dore's page and take a look at it. You'll be thoroughly amused. And for a pothead, jag-off comedian, Jimmy Dore is a moving force in American politics. He gets twice as many people watching his live streams than the Young Turks. The Young Turks are dying, okay, because they're all hypocrites and liars.
That's exactly right. And Jimmy Dore used to be one of the Young Turks. He used to work for
all the time.
Yeah, that's
but when you and I used to watch the Young Turks,
right. Yeah, the same goes for Michael Tracy, who was also a very good reporter who used to work for the Young Turks. No, there's no question. I mean, I think the Young Turks are just largely a fraud. And another one was Anna Kasparian, who did it's still up on the internet, her obsequious, disgusting interview with Madeleine the Mad Bomber Albright. So suddenly the Young Turks, the radical Young Turks, are there championing NATO. The familiar arc of all, quote, progressive, unquote, movements.
Yes, a real tongue bath if you want to see something really disgusting, okay? The mask came down.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Your turn.
So, another thumbs down is, we know last week with the Biden who did these bombing of Syria, which made him a president. And now this week, the Biden administration floated this ridiculous story that somehow there were actually two targets that the Biden intended to hit. But when told that at one target there might be women and children, he called it off. Like the noble figure that he is. Women and children? No. We can kill men, innocent men, but we can't kill innocent women and children. This ridiculous story is floated around, doubtless in the hope that maybe Biden will be a nominee for the Nobel Peace Prize. After all, his former boss won a Nobel Peace Prize for nothing. So maybe this is already Biden's pitch for, hey, what about me for the Nobel Peace Prize?
Do you know how many women and children the American empire is killed, George? We couldn't even figure out a number. It is that high. Right. So that's just, to use Biden language, malarkey, okay? Exactly. Don't insult us, okay? Don't insult us. And we have a Secretary of Defense who is an African-American. Do you think that's going to deter him from killing brown people all around the world? I tend to doubt it because he's from the same professional, managerial, accredited class. It doesn't matter your ethnic background, your creed, none of it. You're in the club, okay? That's what's important. And they try to sell us you because of your skin color. That's called racism.
I know. It is amazing that they say, oh yeah, we've got a really diverse cabinet when the Pentagon is now really diverse. It was so different from the bad old days. So, and you're bombing brown people, you're bombing Muslims, That, so that's great. So they must be really happy. Thank you, Lloyd Austin. I'm glad you destroyed my home and killed my wife and children because at least you're black.
That segues into my next one perfectly. I think something that you and I will be looking at more closely as we go forward, the wokeization of the military and foreign policy, which you've already kind of touched on here at the Gaggle. I am caught breathless sometimes. I mean, in such a short amount of time, you have these issues that the military are just deciding on strategy, tactics, overviews based on the woke politics of the domestic realm in the United States. It's breathtaking. This ferreting out of people and some kind of defenization of members of the military. I mean, wow. The U.S. military is very, very interesting in American history. And if you look at race relations, the improvement of race relations has always started in the military first, okay? Because, and this is something that, a lot of people are not taught in school because they're not taught anything anymore in school, is that fighting Hitler and racism and anti-Semitism, the Holocaust, you can't help but have, young men from Alabama and Louisiana and Georgia, fighting in Europe, segregated, but fighting in Europe, and tell them to go back home to Jim Crow. And that's when Truman was the first. Truman was the first to start breaking down those barriers. And every single president has moved in the right direction. And it always starts in the military. And the military is very proud of real diversity because you can't put incompetent people in charge of troops. You just can't do that because the guy right above you, he's going to be held responsible. So you have highly professional people in the military. I don't think Colin Powell. I think Colin Powell is a perfectly competent person. He destroyed his career with his theatrics in front of in the United Nations right before Iraq. But other than that, he had a stellar career, and everyone thought he was a competent person. But now you're bringing in this wokest elements, critical race theory into the military. What does that have to do with national security? Nothing. As a matter of fact, it will degrade it, and it will make people avoid the military because they want to get involved in that. Okay,
I think that's a very good point. I mean, I think that's true also about cops. I mean, I think that whenever your life is in danger, you really are not thinking about the skin color of the person next to you. However, once you start introducing all these woke elements, critical race theory, that means you're getting everybody to think about these issues all the time. And so once they're thinking about these issues, then you start thinking, well, hey, I'm different from that person, and there's some barrier between us, and I have to be very careful about what I say and do. Let's say a big hold up for racism or racial insensitivity and so on. So once you start introducing that, you're only causing racial divisions, but in institutions such as the military, where you can't afford to have it. You can't afford to have people thinking about, well, this person is black. I have to, worry about, how he's going to react to me. You just don't have that luxury. You can have it in schools and all the other the civil institutions, but the military is the one area where you can't afford to do that.
Another thumbs down I have was the Joe and Nancy show of the last week, when they had a Zoom call. I mean, I felt like we were in a convalescent hospital. I mean, what did she say? You don't say, what is it? What's the magic word?
Open sesame. You say open Biden. Yes.
She says we say open Biden.
Right. She looked like she was completely. She looked like she was completely hammered. I mean, just look. I mean, because she started giggling looked like she'd had a few bourbons before.
A little cultural clue for everyone out there. Every culture has certain gestures about being drunk or drinking. In Russia, it's this. And so when I was watching Nance there, I was wondering, after 3 or 4 or 5, okay? Right. That's what I got from watching it, okay? Right. I wasn't next to her. I didn't have lunch with her, okay? No, it was what it looked like to me.
Well, and that segues into another thumbs down for me, which is how the administration and the media are keeping hidden the role of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is doing things that no vice president has ever done. I mean, she is always there. Wherever Biden is, she is there. The White House, in all its statements that it issues, it always refers to the Biden-Harris administration. No, no one has ever done that. I mean, it wasn't the Trump-Pence administration. It was the Trump administration. It wasn't the Obama-Biden. So now she's conducting these phone calls with government leaders. We already had Macron and Trudeau. Now, the other day, she was on the phone with Netanyahu. This is not done. Vice presidents do not talk to those who are not their equals. And their equal is heads of government or heads of state. She is neither the one nor the other. Yet she's the one. So what does that tell us? It tells us that the people who are running the show are already easing out Biden, or they already know something we don't know, that the guy is just completely out of it. I mean, most of the time he just doesn't know where the hell he is, and that they need somebody to step in really at a moment's notice, because she's always there. Wherever he is, she's there like a vulture, particularly with all her black mask and everything. She's like, just a few inches away from him, ready to swoop in.
That deadly cackle is in the shadows. Okay, you're absolutely right, George. Never in our lifetime has any president given that kind of deference to a vice president ever. Nope. The Oval Office fits one. Okay, and that's it. But it seems things have changed. Okay, yes. Does Kamala Harris have her spot on the couch? Is it her spot? Okay, one has to wonder. Okay,
yes.
And is she? I wonder if she's on What's Up with Dr. Jill. Okay,
well, that's it, because I mean we already know. I mean, Biden, no State of the Union, no press conference. I mean, even the phoning media are noticing. Hey, when is he going to hold his first press conference? They can't keep this up for much longer. I mean, there's going to be, because the media can start asking serious questions as to what the hell is this guy doing?
Well, one of the things that the Biden-Harris administration wanted to, what the feather they wanted to put in their hat was the end of the pandemic and the continued rollout of the vaccine. But Texas and Louisiana is spoiling that. Yes. And from what I understand, towards the end of this month, I think it's going to be March 19th, Connecticut is thinking about.
Connecticut is already easing some of its restrictions.
Well, I mean, the thing is now is that, people are getting beyond this. It's not because of you, Joe. It's because the states are getting their act together and making their decisions, okay? And, the Faucis of this world have been worthless to them because he's not elected to anything, okay? Abbott in Texas, he's elected.
That's it, but what that indicates, and that's true, I think Connecticut is going to be, Michigan's also starting to open up a bit, California is starting to open up, that within the next couple of months, most of the states are going to be open for business, which means Biden's not going to be able to hide behind Zoom calls forever. He's going to have to go traveling. He's going to have to go make speeches, have to go meet people. And that's going to be a very interesting one, because it's been very nice for him just to sit at home and just do these Zoom calls. That luxury is not going to be afforded to him for much longer. And then you have to wonder. I mean, the option, I think, that the Biden people were hoping that he will at least last through to the midterms, and then Harris takes over after the midterm. It doesn't look to me like he's going to last through to the midterms. I mean, and it doesn't look like the people in the White House believe that he's going to last through to the midterms.
This is a moment that they're going to have to address here, because you're the first person to say it out loud that I'm aware of, is that Kamala Harris is always there, and that is for a reason. When there's like an awards, or when they want to have one of these tear-jerking things, bringing families to the Rose Garden, the vice president is going to be there. Other than that, go take a hike. It's my presidency. I mean, that's the norm.
Absolutely. It's never, I mean, it has never been that. I mean, vice president called in occasionally, president briefs him, they have the weekly lunch or whatever, and that's it. He does his own thing, whatever that is. Going around speech or project, they give them projects to work on,
Yeah, like the Ukraine.
Yeah, Ukraine, or what was it? It was Al Gore, reinventing government. That was the cliche of the hour. Reinventing government. That was Al Gore's little project.
Well, of course, Bill Clinton didn't want Al Gore in the Oval because he had other things to do.
No, definitely no room for him there.
All right, that covers me.
Okay. I've got I've got to catch you a couple of thumbs up, but I'll have just the one more thumbs down, a very minor one. Paul Ryan is holding a fundraiser for Liz Cheney. You know, so you could think like birds of a feather, you know, so there it is. Poor little Liz Cheney. She now has two primary challenges in her state. And so obviously the political establishment, the Republican political establishment, is going all in to bat for her. So there is Paul Ryan holding a fundraiser for this awful person. You know,
they better be careful.
The wars person.
They got to be very, very careful. You know, Matt Gaetz, he's going there to work against her. I mean, this is these are these unresolved issues that you and I keep talking about. You know, when I see Steve Hilton on his program, you know, that's when you have nothing else to do. You watch Steve Hilton, okay? No, there's no civil war. They were all singing from the same hymn page. And then on his own program last week, I think he had 3 guests. One of them started the attack, the other one, and that's we're going to go to a commercial break, okay? Yeah, and they keep covering it up. They always want to pretend it's not there. It's there. It's real. And that's why the Republicans are the stupidest people in Washington. Right. You can't hide this.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And you know, it's clear. I mean, yes, you know, Trump clearly is the dominant figure. McConnell's going to realize that he lost that fight. That doesn't mean they're not going to keep the fight going. They're not just going to give up. They still are determined to extirpate Trumpism from the party. You know, yes, they were humiliated over the impeachment. Yes, they were humiliated at CPAC, but they still hate Trump and they're still determined to destroy Trump.
There's rumors, and solid rumors, that McConnell will retire soon.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I read those stories as well. Yeah.
I think he already died on a hill somewhere, because I think he's a spent force. Okay, he can't come back from that. And you know, for someone like Trump that can never ever hold himself back, at least at CPAC he didn't use his name.
Yes. Yeah. So I have a couple of thumbs ups. So we have. The state of Texas is about to pass legislation hitting the internet giants. In other words, it will allow Texans to sue the internet giants, Facebook, Twitter, if they get deplatformed. In other words, it gives them the right to sue them. In other words, these Facebook and Twitter will no longer be able to hide behind that. Well, we're a private company. We can do what we like. We can deplatform. And well, no, they say, well, hey, we've got this legislation. You know, Texans can sue over if they were deplatformed for their politics. Then basically, you know, that the internet giants are breaking the law. So then I imagine the internet giants will sue, maybe go to the Supreme Court on the basis of what? We're a private company. We can do what we like. It's not a very, very appealing argument.
Well, I mean, then the argument of how do you define the public square?
Right.
I mean, and you know what? We need new law. Right. And this would be very good, because I think that's the key issue right here, is that, well, how do we define the public square? Because as you and I have talked about so many times, is that, you know, and even in small towns, there 2 newspapers, 2 different points of view. That public square, that's what that was. If there's just one mega screen, then that is the public square. And if you're not allowed to participate in it, then that's a violation of your rights.
First Amendment right. No, I think that's right. And there's no question. I mean, it's like, telephone companies are not allowed to cancel their services to people, their politics, that they don't agree with their politics. They're not allowed to hide behind, hey, well, we're a private company. We can do what we like. So the same will apply to them. So it's kind of nice to see that these internet giants who thought they were being so cute when they kicked off Donald Trump, they thought they would get all these brownie points, nice, and getting praised by the New York Times. Kind of shot themselves in the foot, because now everywhere there are now moves to restrict the rights of these giants to do what they want.
And it's because Congress is feckless and spineless, and they're in the pocket of these tech giants, that they're paralyzed from it. But states, see, again, you and I go back and forth, explaining to people the positive and negatives of having a federal republic. This is a real good positive one, because you don't need the Supreme Court at this stage. What we need now, and it's building up steam, are these states attorney generals. They're the ones that are leading the cause right here, and they do it from the states and then go upward, okay, instead of relying upon Congress to get off their stupid backsides, okay,
they're never going to do it.
Because they're corrupt. They're corrupt people. They take money.
They get huge amounts of money. This is one of their biggest donors, Silicon Valley. All of them, Republicans, Democrats, they live off this huge funds that come from Google and Facebook and so on. So yeah, you can't expect.
I don't want to go into details here, but if you are demonetized on let's say YouTube, for example, you can continue to post material, but you can't earn any money. But they do. They won't allow you to earn money off your own content.
That's right. When you have a wonderful system, is actually the corporations can get rich, but individual creators of product, you can't get more kind of a pure kind of Marxist theory there. In other words, the people with the wealth, they get rich, but the actual creators, the producers, they are unable to get rich. You think Karl Marx couldn't have written this better himself.
Marx gets a bad reputation because Marx was actually a very interesting economist. Okay, Marx didn't know jack about socialism. Okay, but he had a pretty good understanding of capitalism.
Oh no, that definitely. That the theory of surplus value. Whichever way you go around it, there's an awful lot of truth to that. So I have one other thumbs up, which is. In Germany, in the last week, their German version of the FBI, which is whatever it's called, something like the agency looking after the security of the Constitution, some convoluted German name, announced that he was putting the AfD, Alternative für Deutschland, a kind of a right-wing nationalist party that has some support in the country and actually has members in the Bundestag, is putting it under surveillance. Of course, the US media were very gleeful and delighted, evidently seeing, hey, this might be a nice idea to try out here in the United States, the FBI putting the Republican Party under surveillance. But now a court in Cologne has ruled that this German agency cannot put a political party under surveillance, and particularly not with elections coming up, because for obvious reasons, you are interfering in the electoral process. So, obviously this is a legal battle that's going to continue in Germany, but nonetheless, it is nice that a court should step in. Whatever your views about the AfD may be, it is extremely undesirable when security services put a legitimate political party under surveillance.
Well, the Germans know something about that, okay? And I think that's what is informing the court, okay? Right. Because it's called the slippery slope, okay? And Germany has a very, very painful and horrific example of going down a slippery slope. So good on the court.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. That's it. You got any?
Yeah, and I want to apologize to everyone for the drilling. We more or less got through it. Okay, it was just a few seconds there, so I apologize.
It wasn't too bad. All right. Thank you very much, Peter. We will be back next week with our thumbs ups and thumbs downs, and we are on Rumble. Please look us up on Rumble, and remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.